Appreciate you guys for tuning in. I'm your host, Gabo Say Something. We back with another one, man. I'm not gonna lie, every single time I hear about Pablo Escobar and I think of El Chapo, there's only one word that's like synonymous with those two figures, and that's the word notorious. I feel like when you mention some of these serial killers, these drug lords, it's almost disrespectful to not mention notorious behind it, because you just can't even fathom someone being capable of doing some of the most destructive shit that you've seen El Chapo do and Pablo Escobar. But we got El Chapo's son just posted a terrifying video of their victims' torture. Like, listen, man, they say the apple don't fall far from the tree. I got nothing to go with that, man. Let's go.
When El Chapo was arrested in 2016, the world rejoiced. Perhaps the shocking brutality of the Sinaloa cartel would come to an end. It didn't. Then, his son Ovidio was arrested.
Pase, por favor, pase, por favor. Pasen los tres. Tranquilo. Aquí, señor. Tranquilo. Listo.
Although both his arrests resulted in massacres, his second one saw him extradited to the States to face the same fate as his father. Once again, people hoped the Sinaloa cartel would come to an end. It didn't. As of 2024, the Sinaloa cartel is more powerful than ever, and the latest confessions from Damaso Lopez Serrano prove that the remaining Los Chapitos are even more brutal than their father. Damaso Lopez Serrano.
We finally get the head of the snake, just to realize that his spawns are more deadly than him. God, bro, this is
known as Mini Lick, and up to recently, he was a crucial part of the notorious Sinaloa cartel. He was born in Sinaloa in 1987 to Damaso Lopez Nunez. Nunez was a prison guard in Altiplano prison around the time El Chapo made his first escape in 2001. In fact, Nunez was one of the guys who orchestrated his escape after El Chapo bribed a total of $2.5 million to 78 people. El Chapo remembered Nunez's loyalty, and he invited him into the Sinaloa ranks. This was happening as Chapo's cartel was growing at an unprecedented rate, and at the same time, in the early 2000s, El Chapo started grooming his sons to be ruthless kill machines like him. Sadly, cartels tend to be family businesses, and the eldest sons rarely escape their fate as sicarios or drug lords. And as El Chapo was grooming Los Chapitos, so was Nunez. Mini Leak started working for the Sinaloa cartel as a teenager, and it wasn't long before El Chapo noticed his extra ruthlessness as well as business savvy. For a while, it seemed like a perfect match. Mini Lick was around the same age as Los Chapitos, and he could work closely with them to establish new smuggling routes and ensure control of their territories, fighting off rival cartels. But after El Chapo's arrest in 2016, things took a turn for the worse. In 2017, Chapo was finally extradited to the United States. He'd escaped prison in Mexico twice, and the US had been pressing the Mexican government to do the right thing once and for all. From the state's highest security federal...
And I ain't going front, bro. Just the fact that he escaped the Mexican prison twice, like, there's just levels to this life of a drug lord. These guys have multiple lives. They're undefeated. But for them to have shipped him to the U.S., it reminds me of a quote by Pablo Escobar where he's just like, yo, I'd rather have a hole in Colombia than die in an American prison. These men, they're despised for the U.S. The despise that they have for Americans, bro, is just a different level of hatred. And you know it's eating El Chapo alive to be stuck here on American soil. Oh my goodness, bro.
Prison, Chapo could not escape. No matter how much he promised.
Let me bring it back a little.
The U.S. had been pressing the Mexican government to do the right thing once and for all. From the state's highest security federal prison, Chapo could not escape. No matter how much he promised to bribe the guards or warden, his face, right after landing in New York, says it all. He knew he would not get out of this one. And if El Chapo knew, so did his sons and all his collaborators. And you know what happens when a cartel leader is removed? That's right, a feeding frenzy. Everyone is trying to fill in their position, even if that means unaliving former friends. Now, Mini Leak and his dad were no longer besties with Los Chapitos. They were fighting to climb the ranks and establish themselves as main figures within the Sinaloa cartel. In May 2017, Nunez was arrested on a long list of charges, including money laundering, smuggling, and violent crimes. His son knew he had to act fast. In July of that year, Mini Lick handed himself to the authorities in Calexico, the Mexican town in California. This was huge, both to the authorities and the Sinaloa. Mini Lick remains the highest-ranking Mexican cartel leader to hand himself in to U.S. authorities. Instead of controlling the Sinaloa cartel from the inside, Mini Lick chose to control it from the outside. By striking a deal with the DEA, Mini Lick revealed all his secrets and helped arrest and extradite oodles of high-ranking Sinaloa cartel members. And
What?
before you ask, yep, one of those is Ovidio Guzman Lopez.
Bro, what? Snitching on the cartel? Yo, bro, let me tell you something. Even as someone that reacts to videos, I don't take any of these videos lightly, bro. This ain't nothing to laugh at or smile for. The cartel are really like that, bro. They're like, there are gangs everywhere. You know what I'm saying? There's not a city, there's not a country that doesn't deal with some type of gang violence, but there's levels to this shit and evils to this shit. And when I think of gangs, I put the cartel above them all, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about these guys in their own country be backing down and having the police work for them. You know what I mean? Where if they have beef with you or they have an issue with you, they're not just killing you, they're killing you and everybody around you. They're taking down the whole family tree. The cartel's nothing to play with at all. So I say all that to say, to be a member and to then go on and work with the feds to incriminate other cartels, I can only imagine what they would do to this man if they ever got him.
Pase, por favor, pase, por favor. Pasen los tres. Tranquilo, aquí, señor. Tranquilo. Listo. Ven aquí, tomamos un-
Done.
By 2017, when Mini Lick was in custody, Los Chapitos had gained notoriety as the new leaders of the Sinaloa.
Judy, they are known as Los Chapitos, the four most trusted sons of the world's most notorious drug kingpin. As the I-Team has reported for several years, federal drug investigators here in Chicago consider El Chapo's sons in charge of the Sinaloa cartel that remains this area's largest trafficker of heroin, cocaine, and methamphetamines.
It was also clear they were at least just as brutal as their father.
They now say this drug lord, nicknamed the Mouse, has ordered the murders of informants, a rival drug trafficker, and a popular Mexican singer who refused to perform at his wedding.
Yeah, that's one of the things Ovidio did. Cartel leaders tend to have very fragile egos. They can only stand to have the last word and final decision. They're not used to hearing no. Experience has taught them that they can just bribe or unalive anyone who does. And El Chapo taught his sons to be just like him. As young adults, they were already behaving in a very similar way, and the DEA had gathered a long list of reasons to arrest them. ASAP. In July 2019, El Chapo was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole at the ADX Florence in Colorado. 3 months later, the DEA started a huge operation together with the Mexican military to arrest two Chapitos, Ovidio and Ivan. On October 17th, the Mexican authorities localized both brothers. At around 3 a.m., they went after Ivan, but Ivan had men infiltrated everywhere, including the Mexican army. So he learned what was about to go down.
Yep.
He escaped and rallied up his own army, hundreds of sicarios armed much like the SWAT team trying to arrest them.
This is what I'm talking about, man. They got an arrest and search warrant for this man, and my dude out here built his own army prepared to die. Like, this is what I'm saying. I can only imagine being a part of the special forces unit that has to go and find this man. Are you kidding me? AKs, rocket launchers, you name the artillery. If you want him alive, come on, man. Who's willing to walk through bullets to arrest this kid? You good. My resignation papers would have been filed that day. That day.
Early hours of the morning, the military surrounded Ovidio's house. Initially, Ovidio started shooting at the officers. He didn't realize he was heavily outnumbered. When he decided he would probably die in the fire if he continued, he exited his house with his hands up. But news of his arrest traveled fast. Within moments, Ivan's Sicario army and thousands other Sinaloa soldiers descended upon the Mexican military, raining hell on pretty much anyone in their eyesight. Shockingly enough, Ovidio tried to put an end to the massacre.
¿Cuánto tienes gente adentro?
No, no tengo,
Listo.
son mis hijas,
Que
oiga.
paren. Diles que paren todo.
Ya.
No veo más. Ya no alcanzo a ver más. Pásame cinta, güey.
I'm telling you, even the police got to cover up their face because you do not want to be identified by anybody on this property, dog. Because I'm telling you, it will cost you your family. That's the kind of pull that the cartel have in Mexico, son. That's what it is. That's the life out there, bro. Like, this is the real body cam footage too. Like, I reacted to this like a year ago. That's him for real.
However, it's unclear whether he meant this or he just said it for the camera in case he got arrested. In any case, his statement was irrelevant. It was already an all-out war. The Sicarios released cartel prisoners, set fire to cars to block important roads, and invaded the local airport. Trade and travel were completely stopped in the Sinaloa region for the rest of the day. 7 officers and 1 civilian were unalived, and the surviving civilians were instructed to hide in their homes. The cartels were imposing a curfew on the town until a video was released. To the dismay of many, the Sinaloa's plan worked.
Violence paralyzed the streets of a Mexican city yesterday as security forces traded gunfire with heavily armed members of a drug cartel. The son of the notorious drug kingpin El Chapo was taken into custody, then let go.
President Andres Manuel López Obrador ordered Ovidio's immediate release to prevent further loss of life. This sends the wrong message, that the authorities are
That's what I'm saying, man. Enough men to back down an army. Know what I'm saying? Got the president out here vouching, yo, free this man. Too many people are dying. Free this man. You want to talk about, like, this is what I'm saying, it's just pussy. It's just pussy, bro. Like it's just, that's your king, that's your leader. That's the leverage you want to now give to the cartel, where it's just like, you know, this man could easily be serving a life sentence, but because you're afraid of the backlash, we're gonna free him. We want no smoke. That's insane, bro.
easily intimidated, and the cartel is in control.
Like,
Falco
for real.
Ernst, senior analyst for the International Crisis
That does
Group in
more
Mexico.
damage to the country than actually serving him with life, because at least you give the cartel something to be intimidated by. Like, you know what I mean? With how big their egos are and how big their heads are, where they feel like they could do whatever with only bribery or just unaliving you, right? Like, by freeing up El Chapo's son and putting him back in the playing field, it's like, yo, they're not afraid of y'all. They just punked y'all. You sending a bad president to your country, man.
Said the release of Ovidio Guzman set a dangerous precedent and sent a message that the state itself, including the army, could be blackmailed and was not in control. President Obrador explained his decision.
Esta decisión se tomó para proteger a los ciudadanos. Es que no se puede apagar el fuego con el fuego. Esa es la diferencia.
You putting these men above the law. You putting the most dangerous men in the country above the law. Somebody needs to say it again. The most dangerous men. You're putting them above the law? And you think that's protecting your citizens? Yeah, I'm going.
A lo que han hecho los anteriores gobiernos. Nosotros no queremos muertos.
It's gonna happen anyway.
No queremos la guerra.
What are you talking
By
about?
January 2023, the president had changed his mind. Around sunrise on January 5th, a SWAT team raided Ovidio's house after he threw a massive party. They knew his soldiers would be too drunk or tired to fight back, and the few soldiers who were awake and guarding his house did not look at the sky, so they did not see the SWAT helicopter descending straight into their yard. By the time they heard its loud engine, it was too late. Ovidio was picked up and flown to the nearest prison, awaiting extradition. Once again, this resulted in a massacre. 29 people lost their lives in under an hour.
These criminal organizations shot with weapons at aircraft from the Mexican Air Force and from commercial airlines, and at the international Culiacan airport facilities. Nevertheless, they did not achieve their goal of rescuing the alleged offender because we neutralized him.
But this time, President Obrador stood by his decision.
The Mexican president has defended the military operation that captured a drug cartel leader, Ovidio Guzman, the son of jailed drug trafficker El Chapo. Violence erupted in Culiacan, a stronghold of the cartel. At least 19 members of the Sinaloa cartel and 10 members of the military were killed.
We regret the loss of lives of those who died while carrying out their jobs. We also regret other losses.
Minnie Lick was behind both operations, providing the DEA with key info about Los Chapitos while they figured out the best ways to proceed. You see, Mini Lick only served 5 years. Considering his long list of heinous crimes, he could have easily been in a US prison for the rest of his life. This just goes to show how valuable he was to the DEA, and it turns out it was his own father who advised him to turn himself in. Once Nunez was arrested, he knew his son wouldn't be safe from Los Chapitos. Back in 2016, they'd orchestrated the kidnapping of Ivan and some of his friends at his birthday party. At the time, El Chapo was still in a Mexico prison awaiting extradition. He negotiated his son's release and suggested the Sinaloa cartel be split into a faction ruled by Los Chapitos and another faction led by Mini Lick and Nunez. But Mini Lick knew that as soon as it was possible, Los Chapitos would exercise the worst kind of revenge on the two of them. And even after his prison release, Mini Lick would have to stay far away from Mexico and pretty much any area the Sinaloa had infiltrated with their soldiers. Mini Lick has made it his life goal to leave the life of crime behind. Whether for his own safety or from a desire to make up for all the bad he's done, it's unclear. Nevertheless, today, Serrano Jr. is working as a security analyst. He is also under witness protection and is a target of constant threats from Los Chapitos. In late 2023, he gave an exclusive interview to Anabel Hernandez, one of the most prominent journalists in Mexico, bravely fighting against cartels and corruption for many years.
Nuestra colega Anabel Hernández, periodista de investigación, tuvo la oportunidad, consiguió una exclusiva con el Mini Lick. Anabel Hernández, buenas noches. Qué gusto, querida Anabel.
¿Qué tal, Elisa? Querida Elisa, buenas noches y buenas noches al auditorio.
Anabel said that Mini Lick confirmed the well-known facts about corruption in Mexico. If it wasn't for corruption, none of these cartels would thrive. Los Chapitos still have people on their payroll everywhere, in law enforcement, the government, and every courthouse in Mexico. That way, their crimes are protected, and their men are never arrested for long. Mini Lick also revealed that Los Chapitos are just as bad as El Chapo, if not worse. This went hand in hand with the horrific witness testimonies told during Ovidio's trial last year. According to his former guards and sicarios, Ovidio and his brothers took pleasure in personally inflicting unimaginable pain to their enemies.
Once information was obtained by these captives, typically through torture, these individuals were killed, either by or at the direction of the Chapitos themselves, and the bodies disposed of throughout the area. While many of these victims were shot, others were fed dead or alive to tigers.
Indeed, Ivan and Alfredo own tigers, and it's safe to say they're not kept in ideal conditions either. As to the rivals they snatch, well, they meet fates worse than death. Death comes as mercy to these poor people. In 2017, two of El Chapo's sons kidnapped and unalived two Mexican federal police officers. The testimony was truly shocking.
For approximately 2 hours, members of the Ninis tortured Victim 5 by inserting a corkscrew into Victim 5's muscles, ripping it out of his muscles, and placing hot chilies in his open wounds and nose, before being shot dead by Ivan Archivaldo Guzman Salazar. The victim and his fellow slain officer were then dumped near a motel, off of a highway near the ranch.
Apparently, Los Chapitos' favorite torture methods include electrocution and waterboarding, and they do this to anyone: rival sicarios, police officers, and people who fail to pay debts. And to make matters worse, sometimes Los Chapitos test out the potency of their fentanyl on their prisoners. DEA Chief Ann Milgram said,
"Death and destruction are central to their whole operation. The Sinaloa cartel is a network that fuels violence and death on both sides of the border."
The thing is, Los Chapitos don't seem discouraged by Ovidio's arrest or Mini Lick's interviews. In 2024, they released one of their worst videos yet. The video begins with three men smiling and waving at the camera. They seem to be having fun and recording for social media. They also sing along to a song called Alucin. It's got one of those hip-hop style lyrics where a man is bragging about his wealth and claims he can have any woman he likes as a result of this, as if women are men's property. But this video doesn't end with the three sicarios on top. In fact, Los Chapitos used this part of the video to mock the men. It was a sort of before and after formula. First, here's the men having fun. Then, look at them now. The video shows the word después, or after, then skips to a short clip worthy of the worst horror movies. One of the three sicarios is in a forest at night, in a deep hole. He's been buried and partially covered with branches and debris. There is also a tire around his head. He can't move at all. He can only stare in terror as his rival sicarios are getting ready to take his life. And he knows it's not going to go fast.
Damn.
One sicario pours liquid all over his face and in the hole he's buried in. His last look at the camera.
Damn, bro.
Is gut-wrenching. You can almost feel his fear. Then, a sicario drops a lit match in the hole and retreats to his group, casually chatting with his fellow sicarios as if they'd done nothing wrong. First, a crackling noise is heard. Then, a piercing scream through the night, covering the sicarios' chatter. The screams get worse and worse until they get quieter. Then, there is a raspy exhale. Then, there is nothing. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Many of the horrors Los Chapitos commit aren't even recorded or reported. When a cartel releases one of these horrific videos, it's to send a message to other cartels. Don't mess with us. This is what happens if you do. Of course, the message is also to anyone thinking of crossing them, people like Mini Lick included. It's a way of showing they are in control. Even if El Chapo was arrested, and even if Ovidio was arrested, they are still Mexico's most powerful cartel, and they will stop at nothing to maintain their reign of terror. Many people thought of El Chapo as the Sinaloa cartel mastermind. Remove him, and the whole cartel crumbles, they argued. But they couldn't be more wrong. Since their father's arrest, Los Chapitos have grown the Sinaloa to new peaks. For starters, Los Chapitos started a profitable collaboration with the Chinese triads and delved deeper into the fentanyl trade, which is ravaging the US. Through the triads, the Sinaloa cartel ensures a steady supply of chemicals needed to produce fentanyl and methamphetamine.
We're going undercover. We've managed to infiltrate the Chinese mafia who are operating here in Mexico City. They work very, very closely with the drug cartels.
To keep a giant cartel running, you have to think of all the angles, business opportunities, and potential dangers. And Los Chapitos realized they had to make friends around the world to stay at their most powerful. Meanwhile, millions of people are losing their lives to the destructive substances they smuggle.
Fentanyl is killing everybody. You're gonna die.
O sea, hacen una vaca de los narcotraficantes aquí en Sinaloa, ofrecen un billete, juntan para tanto, ¿sabe qué? Va a llegar tanto día, tal día. Por eso es muchísimo el dinero que viene. Entonces, a lo que tengo entendido, venían 50 kilos de fentanil ahí para distribuirlo todo el estado de Sinaloa.
Business savvy as they are, Los Chapitos are molding around the market needs, so it's no longer the white powder and pot provided by their dad 3 decades ago.
It's like, okay, so what the U.S. market like? They like their avocados from Mexico and their meth from Mexico.
One of the latest demands on the market is fentanyl, and it's the most destructive narcotic yet. Around 1% of fentanyl users will die. This number is huge.
It doesn't last long, so you're sick again. Like,
for 1% to be huge?
when you can do in the morning and you can be all good till tomorrow. Like fentanyl, you can withdraw like 3 times a day.
Fentanyl has an even faster, harsher withdrawal than other substances. And even though it can result in death with every little dose, users feel an unspeakable urge to keep using. This just goes to show the cruelty and lack of empathy Los Chapitos have. They are no wiser than El Chapo.
So we are somewhere deep in the state of Sinaloa here in Mexico, and we're just walking up to what we believe is a fentanyl lab where Sinaloa cartel members are mixing fentanyl. And the drugs that are made here are then going to go straight to the US, which is feeding the opioid crisis right now.
The DEA and the Mexican government haven't stopped fighting the cartels. The Mexican military is constantly raiding forests in hope of arresting sicarios and seizing huge labs and operations. But Los Chapitos continue to infiltrate every institution and keep high-ranking officials on their payroll. That way, they are less likely to get caught. Either the officials protect them, or they let them know when a raid is about to happen. Just like it happened when Ivan evaded arrest in October 2019. It's hard to see an end in sight, even with people like Mini Lick leaving crime behind and helping arrest Sinaloa kingpins. Los Chapitos have people everywhere, and the profits are so huge, they see no point in ever stopping.
Yeah, I ain't going front, bro. When I think of the cartel,
thanks for watching.
They are clearly a multi-billion-dollar organization, and that's from the money that they've accumulated with getting fentanyl into the States and it causing what it's been causing to the American people out here, bro. My thing is, I don't even know what to say when it comes to like fentanyl. I stay away from all that shit. The man said you go through 3 withdrawals a day. Why the hell would I want that in my system? But apparently people do. And you know, when it comes to drugs, there's no level to how high you want to get or trying to catch that same feeling that you once had. And there's a constant urge. And when that urge is there, the money keep coming in because people gonna keep buying. And yo, like, to be honest, we funding the cartel. You want to keep it a bean, bro. just saying. But this was El Chapo's son posted a terrifying video of their victims. The cartel is nothing to play with, but a little something to react to. You know what I mean? I'm gonna holler at you guys next video, bro. Stay away from these folks. Play with something safe. Don't play with them.